Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. We talk about Blu-rays here. My name is Brian, and today we are talking about Imprint Films, of course, from Australia, part of the Via Vision label. And these are region-free discs. These play fine on my US player, and there's a lot of them. We're talking about May and June of 2023 bundles, so I'm going to get right into this and start with this one here. Bus Riley's Back in Town from 1965. This one stars Anne Margaret and Michael Parks, and it is a movie that I have been aware of for a little while because Quentin Tarantino years ago programmed this as part of the now I think defunct Trio network. And Trio was just a cable station that was doing some interesting stuff, and they let him program, I want to say like a week of movies, like one a day, and there was some fun stuff in there if I recall. Crazy House, the sequel to Hell's a Poppin', and Creature with the Blue Hand. I mean, there was a few really interesting ones that he programmed, but I do remember this being programmed and not knowing what this movie was. I knew that Tarantino was a fan of Michael Parks because he cast him in a lot of his films, and this is a really great showcase for him. Universal touted it as his first film at the time. I don't think it actually was his first film, but he is really good in this movie, and he is sort of a method actor in the vein of Marlon Brando and James Dean, and was sort of poised to, have a career like those guys. But I guess he had sort of a moodiness about him and was difficult to work with and kind of maybe sabotage his own career. He has a show that he's known for called Then Came Bronson that was a good show. I saw because of this movie, I watched the pilot movie for that with he and Bonnie Bedelia. It comes out, I want to say 3 months or 4 months before Easy Rider. And it's about a journalist who, after a friend of his kills himself, and he's there when it happens, and his boss is just a total pain, he decides to drop out and take the motorcycle from the guy that died and drive across country. And that's sort of what the show was. But anyway, back to this movie. It is interesting because, like I said, Tarantino's a fan. It is based on a one-act play by William Inge, and I find it interesting that William Inge is part of this for me because recently I've been paying more attention to William Inge stuff because of Asteroid City. Wes Anderson mentioned William Inge, specifically the movies Picnic and Bus Stop as sort of influences on Asteroid City. So I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't seen either of those movies. I need to watch those. And Inge also did movies worked on, or movies were made out of his material for things like Dark at the Top of the Stairs, Come Back Little Sheba. He wrote the original screenplay for Splendor in the Grass and All Fall Down. All Fall Down's really good too, by the way. And I guess that this film, just listening to the commentary, basically the idea is it's about a Navy man who comes home to his small hometown after 3 years away and finds that his, girl, his crush, has married a rich man and now lives in his house, and he's never around, and she sort of starts courting him, and he's kind of like, what are we doing? And he's trying to get a job, trying to find himself a little bit. But it's a really good performance by Michael Parks. Anne Margaret is also good. Kim Darby plays his little sister. She's very good as well. Marlon Brando's sister, I think, plays his mom. But yeah, it's a good movie. I enjoy it. But apparently Inge was upset because he wrote this screenplay based on his one act, and there are some changes that were made to the film. This comes out in the commentary. That happened to some key scenes, and I think it involved the Margaret Anne Margaret character, and he was so upset by it that he took his name off the movie, which is too bad. But I still think it's an interesting film. Tarantino's a fan of this movie and Michael Parks. Kevin Smith, also a huge Michael Parks fan, said he was the best actor he ever worked with. Robert Rodriguez cast him. Apparently David Lynch was a fan. He cast him in Twin Peaks. And that was sort of the beginning of his career resurgence. He had this resurgence in the 90s and 2000s because of these directors that knew him. But anyway, it's a good movie. It's never been on Blu-ray before, and it is a great showcase for Michael Parks. It features a high-definition presentation of a 2K scan. First time it's been on widescreen that I've seen. It basically didn't have a DVD, I don't even think. So it was on VHS, and now this. Audio commentary from film historians Lee Pfeiffer and Paul Scrabo. Very good track. A lot of cool details about Inge and the actors and stuff like that. Film professor Lucy Bolton on Anne Margaret. That's about a 28-minute piece of her talking about Anne Margaret and her career. Very cool stuff. I got to move along here because we got a lot to talk about, but very interesting. The big discovery for me is next up here. This is Uptight, 1968, directed by Jules Dassin. And Dassin would do things like, he's a kind of, he sort of had to, American film director, producer, subject to the Hollywood blacklist. So he moved to France and made a lot of movies, but things like Naked City, Rafifi, Brute Force, Thieves Highway, I'm a big fan of. He makes this movie, and this is really fascinating. It is ostensibly a remake of the film The Informer, which I believe, is it Victor McLaughlin or John Ford? I can't remember. But it's this idea that they're taking that sort of storyline and adapting it into, it's based on a Liam O'Flaherty novel. It's really been cleverly adapted into this story of black revolutionaries in the 1960s via the screenplay by Jules Dassin and actors Ruby Dee and Julian Mayfield, both of whom are in the film and both are very good. Julian Mayfield, apparently actually a real revolutionary, was wanted by the FBI, being pursued at the time, but he plays Tank in this movie. Basically, the idea is that it's in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's in the wake of Martin Luther King's assassination. There's actual footage of the real funeral procession incorporated into the narrative, something like, sort of Medium Cool. And Medium Cool might be an interesting double with this, by the way. And the cast is really remarkable. A lot of great black actors. Max Julian, 5 years before the Mac. Raymond St. Jock. Ruby Dee, Roscoe Lee Brown, Juanita Moore, Frank Silvera, Robert DeKey, James Eachin, John Wesley, and then Julian Mayfield as Tank, who is sort of the informer of the movie. So Johnny Wells is Max Julian, and at the beginning of the film, these revolutionaries are trying to steal some rifles from a munitions place, I guess. I don't know. And he ends up accidentally killing a security guard there, and he becomes wanted by the police. And Tank is a bit of an outsider with this group. He's supposed to come along on this raid, and he doesn't, and it just becomes a thing where he's not trusted by the group anymore. And eventually he becomes the informer. He becomes the one that tells the cops where to find Johnny Wells. And so it becomes this whole big turmoil within the revolutionary group. But apparently this film was really a hot potato of sorts for Paramount and ended up being edited outside the United States in Paris. And when Jules Dassin turned it into Paramount, I don't think they knew really what to do with it, and frankly were afraid of it and sort of buried it. So it's become, kind of a lost film in some sense. But this is a really nice release. It's great to see this movie on Blu-ray, and it was a discovery for me, and actually one of my favorite discoveries of the year, and I really, really liked it. Great performances, great dialogue, just really well done and well performed. This has a commentary track by Film historians Alan Silver and James Orsini. Very good stuff. A lot of great info there. And film critic writer Christina Newland has a 17.5-minute piece on the background of the film, its production. Really great stuff in there, too. And then Elective Vicissitudes, The Radical Exiles of Jules Dass, and a video essay by film historian Daniel Kramer as well. But a great release from Imprint. Really exciting and important film. Highly recommended. Next up, we have The Catman of Paris. And this one is a Republic Pictures movie. And it's about an author played by Carl Esmond who, when he returns to Paris with his best-selling book that criticizes the government, he's tormented by these blackouts. And a mysterious cat-like creature slaughters people close to him. He's suspected of the murders. You know, it's kind of like a Wolfman, Werewolf London kind of story. And it's neat. It's like just about an hour long, but it's an enjoyable, quickie, if you will. I don't think this is out of Blu-ray before. For Uptight, high-definition presentation of a 2019 4K scan from the original camera negative by Paramount. And this is a 1080p presentation of a 2017 4K scan of the original camera negative by Paramount. Includes an audio commentary by film historians Kim Newman and Stephen Jones. Perfect choice. They're wonderful. Mark of the Beast, Myth-Making and Masculinity in Catman of Paris, video essay by Kat Ellinger. And a really neat The Republic Pictures story, feature-length documentary about the pioneering studio, featuring hundreds of clips and on-camera interviews. That's from 1991. It's in SD, but it's almost 2 hours long, and that alone is a really wonderful feature to have on this disc. It's great to see Republic Pictures highlighted, a really neat low-budget studio that made a lot of interesting pictures, including Johnny Guitar and, there's a bunch that are more high-profile. But this is a really neat little entry that I hadn't seen before, so I'm glad I got to check that out. Then we have The Long Voyage Home. This is a John Ford film from 1940. It is based on, I want to say, 4 sea plays by Eugene O'Neill, and it's shot by Greg Tolan of Citizen Kane fame, and it's beautifully composed. I will say it's just great to look at. Tons of, beautiful, expressive shots and scenes. There's just some really well put together stuff that just looks great. The basic idea of the story is that it's about the crew of the merchant ship Glencairn and their hope to survive a transatlantic crossing during World War II, wherein they are transporting some explosives. It stars John Wayne, very young, Thomas Mitchell, Ian Hunter, Barry Fitzgerald, Ward Bond, it's just a solid John Ford movie. If you're into Ford, this is definitely one I wasn't or I hadn't seen, and really excited to see this get a Blu-ray. 1080p presentation from a 2016 UCLA Film and Television Archive restoration. Audio commentary by Alan Silver and James Orsini. Also great. University of Warwick film professor Jose Arroyo on The Long Voyage Home is one of the features here. That is about 26.5 minutes of him talking about this movie. Cambridge University English professor Jean Chothia on Eugene O'Neill. She talks about Eugene O'Neill for 28 minutes, so it's neat to get a background on him. And then something called Homecoming, which is a video essay by film critic, writer of John Ford, the Man in His Films, Tag Gallagher, about 16.5 minutes. So a lot of great stuff on John Ford and Eugene O'Neill in this one. But yeah, neat to see that come out. Let's see here. Then we have The Spiral Road. This one is from 1962 from director Robert Mulligan, who would do things like To Kill a Mockingbird and Summer 42 and Love with a Proper Stranger is one of my favorites. This is an interesting one. It's about a selfishly and prideful young Dutch doctor played by Rock Hudson, through a series of circumstances, comes to learn that he does indeed need a higher spiritual being and other people. He comes to this place, the jungles of Java, When an opportunistic physician travels to the jungles of Java, a shocking meeting with a black magic witch doctor forces him to reevaluate his selfish past. So it's Rock Hudson. I like his selfish roles are interesting. His self-important sort of, not villains, but I do think it's neat to see him play these roles. He does it really well. Also stars Burl Ives and Jenna Rollins, and a movie I wasn't really aware of. I think this is a debut also. 1080p presentation of a 4K scan of the original camera negative from Universal. Audio commentary by film historians Daniel Creamer and David Del Valle, and Kim Newman on Rock Hudson for about 17 minutes of him just talking about Rock Hudson and his career, which is great. So another neat one that, it's just a find, a movie I wasn't aware of. And then lastly, for the May group, we have one of many adaptations of The Great Gatsby. I think this is maybe the second film adaptation, and there would be at least three or four more. Travel back in time to the Roaring Twenties, a time of flappers, bootlegging, Art Deco architecture, and jazz music as Jay Gatsby works his way from poor fisherman to extravagant millionaire. 1080p presentation of a 4K scan from 2022 from the original camera negative. Audio commentary by professor and film scholar Jason A. Nye. Alan Ladd, The True Quiet Man documentary, a full documentary on Alan Ladd from 1999. Professor Sarah Churchwell on The Great Gatsby, and film critic, writer Christina Newland on The Great Gatsby, as well as an onstage interview with Alan Ladd's son, David Ladd, conducted by Alan K. Rohde. So a lot of great stuff with this. This is one of the adaptations I wasn't as aware of. Alan Ladd, Betty Field, McDonald Carey, Ruth Hussey, Barry Sullivan, and Howard Da Silva star in this one, with Shelley Winters as well. Definitely looking forward to checking this one out. Of course, based on the novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Another Blu-ray debut as far as I know. So they're just cranking them out in the month of May. And then we get into the June titles. And we have some newer stuff here, but I'll start with the older stuff. First, we have Damage, Louis Malle's film Damage. This one is from 92, stars Jeremy Irons and Juliette Binoche, Miranda Richardson, Rupert Graves, Peter Stormare, Ian Bannon, Julian Fellows. The life of a respected British politician at the height of his career crumbles when he becomes obsessed with his son's lover. I've definitely heard tell of this film and how potent it is. And I think this, I'm not sure if this is a Blu-ray debut, but I believe it is. But Louis Malle, a great filmmaker who I always enjoy, and need to see him getting a nice release for this one. High definition presentation from a 2K scan. Professor Hugo Frey on Damage. An early obsession interview with editor John Bloom. Vintage production featurettes with the cast and crew. The making of Damage. Production Jeremy Irons and character director Louis Malle. A one-on-one with Louis Malle featurette. So you get Malle and Jeremy Irons featured in the extras on this. Very cool stuff. I'm going to go back through really quick and just show you all the interior artwork. There's Buzz Riley. Great Gatsby. Spiral Road. Long Voyage Home. Catman of Paris. And Uptight. I like that. And Damage. Okay, moving on. Next up, we have a nice double disc box set of The Bounty. This is the 1984 film, and it is with Mel Gibson and Anthony Hopkins. My gosh. Okay. Also, Laurence Olivier, Edward Fox, Daniel Day-Lewis, Bernard Hill, Phil Davis, Liam Neeson. It's definitely one of those that I've had friends tell me about. You know, it's the, I want to say the second adaptation of of this story. It's a familiar story of Lieutenant Bligh, whose cruelty leads to a mutiny on his ship. This version follows both the efforts of Fletcher Christian to get his men beyond the reach of British retribution and the epic voyage of Lieutenant Bligh to get his loyalists safely to East Timor in a lifeboat. And, of course, Bligh is played by Anthony Hopkins, and Mr. Christian, Fletcher Christian, played by Mel Gibson. So this is another one of these lovely box sets that has a book and 2 discs in it. Now, we get the movie itself and then a whole disc of special features, which I'll go into in a second, which is nice. So this is a 1080p presentation of a 4K scan from the original negative. Includes audio commentary by director Roger Donaldson, producer Bernard Williams, and production designer John Graysmark, and an audio commentary by historical consultant Stephen Walters. The Making of the Bounty documentary, narrated by Edward Fox, that's from 1984. And The Bounty on Film, a visual essay by Stephen Walters from 2004. This is a Dino De Laurentiis production, so you know it's going to be big and crazy. Yeah, I've seen this, but it's been a long, long time. But okay, so we have instead of a second disc here, instead of a documentary, we have all kinds of stuff on this. A bunch of special features. This is the special features disc. A Fated Ship documentary surrounding the construction of the Bounty replica ship and the early development of the film from 1981. In Bligh's wake, documentary charting the voyage from New Zealand to Tahiti to deliver the Bounty replica for shooting the film. That's cool, from 1984. A Desperate Enterprise directing the Bounty. This is a new interview with director Ronald Donaldson from 2023. A Long Hard Voyage adapting the mutiny on the Bounty, the featurette. That's new. Limits of Endurance scoring the Bounty featurette. That's also new. And Making Waves feature-length documentary with members of the Bounty film crew. That's also a brand new piece, as well as Mixing Waves, interview with dubbing mixers John Hayward and Robin O'Donoghue, also brand new. Voyage of Our Own, interview with second unit cameraman Douglas Milsom, also brand new. And A Turbulent Journey, the Making of the Bounty production slideshow. So really like an epic Criterion level, beyond Criterion level release in terms of the amount of extra features you're getting with this movie, and a nice booklet on top of it. Not a booklet. This is a bound book, actually. Just a beautiful. Actually, almost these are like better than the Indicator books. This is like, well, it's right up there anyway. Really nice book that comes with it. So they've really outdone themselves and treated this film wonderfully. A beautiful. I think this has already gotten a Blu-ray Seaside, but not on the level that they've put together here. This is really something. I'm very impressed with that one. Next up, we have Malena. Now, this is where we get into the newer stuff. So Malena is from 2000, from Giuseppe Tornatore, and it stars Monica Bellucci. The film is about on the day in 1940 that Italy enters the war, 2 things happen to the 12-year-old Renato, and he gets his first bike and he gets his first look at Malena. She is a beautiful, silent outsider who's moved to his Sicilian town to be with her husband, Nico. He promptly goes off to war, leaving her to the lustful eyes of men and the sharp tongues of the women. During the next few years, as Renato grows towards manhood, he watches Malena suffer and prove her mettle. He sees her loneliness, then grief, and when Nico is reported dead, the effects of slander on her relationship with her father, her poverty, and search for work, and final humiliations. Will Renato learn courage from Malena and stand up for her is the question. She, of course, has been... Irreversible is the film I was trying to think of that I remembered Monica Bellucci for, but she's been in a ton of stuff, including a couple Matrix movies and Shoot 'em Up, Brotherhood of the Wolf. She's in a ton of movies and just a delightful actor. So this is one I've always heard is a really great showcase for her. And this disc features a high-definition presentation of a 2K scan from the original uncut Italian version of the film, which is exciting. The Life and Dream of Giuseppe Tornatore documentary, the Making of Malena featurette, on location, behind the scenes, interview with director Giuseppe Tornatore, interview with director Giuseppe Tornatore and composer Ennio Morricone. Of course, I buried the lead. Morricone does the music for the film, which is great. And in-studio recording with the score with composer Morricone. So you get like a little in-studio with him, which is actually kind of worth the price of admission alone. So that is Malena from 2000. And then another one I've never heard of, My Summer of Love, this one is called. And this one is from 2004. And it stars Natalie Press and Emily Blunt. So an earlier, and Patty Considine. So an earlier film for Emily Blunt, as far as I know. And it's about, in the Yorkshire countryside, a working class tomboy meets Mona, the exotic, pampered Tamsin. Tomboy Mona meets Tamsin. Tamsin is Emily Blunt. To seal their friendship, Natalie Press is the tomboy. Born-again Christian brother helps her spy on her adulterous father. Bound together by their secrets, the two girls see their friendship deepen and enter into dangerous waters. So this intrigues me. I don't know this film. I don't know the director, Paul Palakowski. This is a 1080p presentation from a 4K scan, audio commentary by the director, deleted scenes, B-roll footage, interviews with actress Patty Considine, Natalie Press, Emily Blunt, and the director. Definitely intrigued by this one, especially because I'm a big Emily Blunt fan, and this is an earlier film that I'd never heard of prior to this release. Then we have a couple, let's see here. We have a Zhang Yimou film. So they obviously did a box set, including some of his films. This one's called Not One Less. It's from 1999. Stars Wei Minzi, Zhang Huke, and Tian Zenda. And this one, teacher Gao loves his students in his poor village and is devoted to educating them in the hope of their greater futures. When he is called away to tend to his dying mother for a month, the mayor calls in an inexperienced 13-year-old replacement, Wei Minzu, much to a teacher Gao's dismay. Teacher Gao cannot stand the thought of losing any more students. He has already lost 12 to the ever-increasing attrition, and he promises Wei an extra 10 yuan if she succeeds in ensuring that upon his return there will be not one less student. Wei's difficult mission to fulfill teacher Gao's wish and her own concern for the welfare of the children begins. So this is cool because it's Zhang Yimou, and another one that I've never seen. This is a highly critically praised film from 1999 that is going to be a new watch for me. So this one includes a 1080p presentation from a 2K scan. No extras on this one, unfortunately, but that's all right. And then lastly, we have a film called Leap. This is from 2020, one of the newest films Imprint's ever put out, directed by Peter Chan. It says, after 12 years, the Chinese women's volleyball team again reached the Olympic final. The ups and downs of the Chinese women's volleyball team for more than 3 decades have slowly spread away. This stars Gong Li, among others. Leap. And this one, 1080p presentation from a 4K scan. Screenwriter and film critic Tony Raines on Leap. New volleyball team featurette. Becoming Lang Ping featurette with actress Gong Li. Middle-earth, China's cultural industry podcast behind the scenes with Leap director Peter Ho Sun Chan. And new China women's volleyball team teasers trailer. So that is, as I said, one of the newest films I've ever seen Imprint put out, Leap, from 2020. So sorry I had to go through so many and some so quickly, but just wanted to give you an overview of what Imprint is doing, and they are always doing interesting stuff. Keep an eye on what they have coming in July and August. Soon we're going to have Walter Hill box set, and a whole bunch of other great stuff from Imprint. So they are definitely one to watch. If I haven't emphasized that enough on this channel, I like to make you aware of their releases, and order the bundles. Get them from Diabolic DVD, get them from import CDs. You can get them from Amazon. They don't have to be imported direct from Imprint Films, but you can also do that. If you just look up Imprint Films, you'll find their section on the ViaVision website. As I said, all region free, and they're doing a lot of great work here, digging up a lot of interesting films from various periods and wonderful directors, like I said, John Ford and Jules Dassin and all these others. So Uptight, definitely the big one for me this month. A big recommend for that. Well worth your time. A really great film. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.